to today's webinar, Usher Syndrome in a Digital World, Tech Talks from the Community. The development of technology offers different kinds of solutions for everyday life. These solutions might pose both opportunities and challenges, especially for people living with sensory impairment. In this webinar, we will hear different perspectives and experiences on using technology when also dealing with Usher syndrome. The webinar is hosted by the Nordic Network on Usher syndrome, and the aim of the network is to spread knowledge on Usher syndrome, as well as provide a platform for professionals to meet and to share knowledge from working with the target group. Jenny Widmark and Moa Wahlqvist will guide us through today's session, introducing some aspects of technology, and we will hear relayed experiences from persons living with Usher syndrome, sharing their perspectives on using technology and navigating through the digital world. Again, welcome to you all, and now let's leave the floor to Moa and Jenny.
Hi, and welcome to today's webinar on positive and negative aspects of technology when living with Usher syndrome. My name is Moa Wahlqvist, and I am a researcher and coordinator, and I work at the Audiological Research Center at Örebro University and at the Swedish National Resource Center for Deafblindness. With me today, I also have a colleague of mine, Jenny Widmark, who is an audiologist and a PhD student. She works both at the region of Västra Götaland, and she's, as a colleague, I said, at the Swedish National Resource Center for Deafblindness. And she holds a position as a PhD student at Örebro University. She will talk to you in a second. This presentation today is from the Nordic Network on Usher syndrome, which is a platform for sharing knowledge and expertise between professionals in the Nordic countries. We discuss topics on living conditions and needs for support for people with Usher syndrome and acquired deafblindness as well. In the network, we do webinars as today, but we also do seminars and workshops. And actually, this webinar today is our first in the network. So today's webinar will address positive and negative aspects of technology. And the development of technology offers different kinds of solutions for everyday life. And these solutions might be opportunities and also contain challenges, especially for people with sensory impairment. And in the webinar, we will look at this from different perspectives and also take part of experiences from people with Usher syndrome on how they use technology. So first, after this little introduction by me, we will hear a small presentation on digital participation among persons with deafblindness by Jenny. And then Jenny and I will guide you through the shared experiences from the people with Usher syndrome. And then we will sum up in some concluding remarks. And after that, there will be a live Q&A where you can ask questions. But first, we will go to Jenny.
Hi, everyone. I am Jenny Widmark, and I would like to start to say thanks to the Nordens Välfärdscenter and the Usher Network for inviting me to this webinar. I have worked as an audiologist for many years, and since 2012 I've had the opportunity to be a part of a deafblind team in Sweden. I have met persons with both acquired and congenital deafblindness, and also a lot of persons with age-related sensory loss. And since 5 or 6 years ago, I am a part of the National Resource Center of Deafblindness in Sweden, and my main focus is within the technology group. And also since May this year, I am a doctoral student at the University of Örebro, and I will talk about that a little bit more later on. So, we are in the midst of a technological storm, I believe. And I asked AI to make me a picture to this presentation, and I thought this was kind of cool that it made me this picture that we see. And I also asked AI to make me a visual description of the image, and this is what it came up with. The image that's on the screen describes a cluttered desk filled with various gadgets, books, and notes. At the center, there is a large globe floating, surrounded by network connections symbolizing global communication and digital connectivity. Several computer screens and laptops on the desk display news, pages, and charts. Various items related to media, communication, money, and technology are scattered around the globe, including a smartphone, banknotes, notebooks, a coffee cup, and other small objects. And the image is drawn in a cartoon-like style, and it seems to represent the flow of information and the digital world in a globalized context. And I think we can all agree that the digital evolution is going faster and faster. And I believe there are many of us, including myself, that we have a feeling of not keeping up. But I do think most of us that listen to this webinar, we do have the knowledge to all that stuff we need to do in order to be a citizen. Just think about how many times a day do you need or use your smartphone or computer to access information or communicate with a text message or finding your way around. And we read the news online, and we do some shopping online, and we pay the tax online, and we communicate with the healthcare online. And thanks to the American Disabilities Act, products like this, like the iPhone or any other smartphone, has opened up the world for many persons with different disabilities, and also for persons with deafblindness. And since we know deafblindness doesn't only affect the ability to communicate, it also affects the ability to receive and to give information and to orientate and move around. Using digital tools like the mobile phone and all this inbuilt technology and all the application that's relevant using technology for communication, retrieving information, and to find your way around. It's relevant for using the digital tools to communicate, to retrieve information, to move around, not only for you and for me, but also for persons with deafblindness, of course. So I think that we can agree that digital participation and the rapid evolution of technology in the modern era is extremely important for all of us today, and it's crucial that no one is going to be left behind. And speaking of that, we have strong legislations from our governments, inspired by the UN Agenda 2030. And the message is clear. No one is going to be left behind in this digital evolution. And we also have the European standard, like you all know, it's called the EN 301549. And this standard, it covers a wide range of requirements for a variety of information and communication technology solutions. And it's relevant for all organizations who buy, develop or manufacture ICT or information and communication technology products or services. And in Sweden we have the Swedish Myndigheten för delaktighet, and it's also very clear there isn't enough work done. We don't only need to identify the barriers, we also need to move them away. So digital participation, according to me, is a human right, and it is our responsibility to support the very different and individual needs among persons with deafblindness. And during the pandemic, it was very obvious that it's not so easy for everyone to know what digital tools to get and how to use them. And we all started meeting online in Zoom or Teams, and it was painful to see how some persons with deafblindness couldn't do that. They couldn't get in touch. They couldn't retrieve any information, and they were stuck at home, totally isolated. And in our team, we tried to find some solutions. We tried to teach how to use, for example, Zoom, but we had to teach from a distance. And how do you even do that? It was really, really difficult doing this. But we also saw the possibilities with digital meetings for the persons with deafblindness who had found out how to use the platforms. Because now they could meet online and they could get in touch with the family and friends from a distance. So our experiences from the pandemic was that we needed to hire a person, a colleague, who could focus on working with training and supporting persons with deafblindness to use digital tools in order to do all that stuff that we need to do. And she still has lots of work, even if we're not in a pandemic right now, because the digital evolution will keep on going faster and faster and keep on moving. I think she will always have work to do. So what does the research tell us? Well, we have studies on the participation perspective among persons with deafblindness, but more in a psychosocial or physical context, like, for example, the study of Jaiswal, 2018. We also have review studies declaring that there is a lack of research within the technology use for person with deafblindness. Wittich and his research colleagues conducted a review study investigating how individuals with deafblindness use or do not use their assistive devices. And the study found that there is a lack of research on assistive technologies specifically aimed at people with combined vision and hearing loss. We tend to focus on doing research on either the vision or the hearing loss. Deisel conducted a review study, and one of their advices was that co-creation of technology and devices should begin during the design and development stages and continue into testing, evaluation, and implementation of new technology and devices. And we need a greater understanding of the unique communication needs, and this could contribute to the development of more advanced technology that can be used in daily situations, supporting two-way communication and social integration for people with deafblindness. We also have studies that explore how people with deafblindness use the internet, and Abili found that seeking information independently online provided a greater sense of independence, and this increased independence contributed to a reduced sense of disability when they were online. And according to the researchers, a lot of time and effort is required for this group to keep up with the constant advancements in computer and internet technology. And we also have studies that found out there is a wide variety of auditory, visual, and tactile strategies, as well as technical needs among individuals with deafblindness for accessing and reading information. The National Competence Center for Deafblindness in Sweden initiated a systematic review, and it called for research that sheds light on what interventions can be offered to people with deafblindness so that they can handle the rapid digitization as well as access to crisis information and social media and digital community functions. They also called for more research on studies with larger populations, which could be conducted through international collaboration. Which leads me to, so as an audiologist working in a deafblind team, I have lacked evidence and research to lean on in my work. I had the opportunity to do my master thesis in 2021 and found it so very interesting. So I decided to delve deeper into this area. I have thought a lot about how the hearing sense plays a role, and for persons living with combined vision and hearing loss. And for example, for persons with Usher type 2, born with a hearing impairment and always had to use the vision to support the hearing, and then acquiring the vision impairment, meaning that for some people, maybe the hearing sense could become the strongest of the sense of the vision and the hearing. And I have seen what difference well-adjusted hearing aids, having the knowledge how to use the hearing aids together with like the screen readers or other visually assisted devices. So the research questions that I'm now ready to hit, I've been thinking, processing, pondering a lot about, mostly with myself actually, also with my colleagues at the National Resource Center and some audiology college, of course, but mainly with my patients. And my main purpose with the research is to gain more knowledge and understanding of how individuals use their sense of hearing and also the technology, and what they need in terms of technology and support to be online, to do all that stuff that we all need to do online. And I want to know how the sense of hearing can compensate a visual impairment in the digital tool usage. What types of technology is used and how do they function? and what is lacking in terms of technology and tools and professional support. So I will conduct 4 different studies, and study 1 just has begun. Wish me luck. With that, I will say to be continued, and I thank you so much for listening.
So welcome back, and thank you for Jenny, who has now joined me next to me for your presentation. And we will now move into the next session of this webinar, where we will take part of the experiences from persons living with Usher syndrome. And here we, in the network, we have asked people with Usher syndrome to share their thoughts and their experiences on using different kinds of technology and navigating in the digital world. And we want to say thank you to the 7 persons who have shared their thoughts. They are of different ages, from 11 and up, and they come from Denmark, Norway, Iceland, and Sweden. They all use their vision, hearing, and tactile sense in different ways, and they use hearing aids, cochlear implants, braille, which means that they both use screen readers, magnifiers, and other kinds of aids. We will guide you, Jenny and I, through this part of the webinar, as I said, and the questions that we have asked the participants and that we will elaborate on is how it is to navigate in the digital world, and how technology both have enhanced people's daily life, but also what barriers are faced. And we've also asked the participants to state some advices they want to give to developers, designers, and policymakers. So, and we will start with some positive aspects. And here is a first quote from one of the participants. And this person said, "I feel like I have access to the world through the computer." And using the computer meant that you could do a lot of things, reading news, or look at what the weather will be, access to social media, listen to audiobooks, and to keep in contact with others. Secondly, and the second quote here is about the mobile phone, which is also an example of a device used to do everything with. And I will read the quote, and then I will ask you, Jenny, some things. But I read the quote first. "The mobile is the most important thing. I can use the camera when I'm looking for things at home, and I make a better use of my vision that way. I get bigger areas to scan." Jenny, you who have been working as a professional, is this something that you recognize from your work?
Absolutely. You know, Moa, both you and I, we use this
That
to
is true.
everything. It's the most precious and important thing in our lives. We cannot live without it. And of course, it's the same for almost everybody, of course. And since you said also these persons have different kinds of vision and hearings, so it is a diverse group. They need special individual adjustments, both in the hardware and the software. And of course, some people need training and support. That's my experience.
Yeah. And hearing aids was also something that was mentioned here. Hearing aids and cochlear implants. and the participants, they refer to this as good technology and something that you really have use for. But this hearing aids, for example, they need to be of good high quality also. So, and I guess that could be quite expensive if you need to buy them yourself, or you can.
Yeah, well, technology can be very expensive, and a dilemma in this is that you need a good quality hearing aids, of course, not just because you need a good quality sound, but you also need the functions inside the hearing aids, so you can connect to your technology that you need to use. And so you need some kind of competence sometimes, that so you know that your hearing aids are compatible with your technology that you need to use.
Yeah. So for example, if you have a hearing aid and you want to connect it to a Bluetooth, to a Bluetooth connection, you need to know that these are working well together, that they are up to date.
And it can be quite difficult sometimes to know. So I think it's also the responsibility for the professionals to give advice.
How to, when you have a problem, how to support and how to give solutions, maybe. Okay. So we've already been elaborating a bit on that, even just now. But on the flip side, then, what barriers have the persons encountered? So you, in your presentation before, you also mentioned this rapid development and digitalization and development of technology. And here are some things that our respondents shared, and I guess that goes in line with what you said. So the first quote here is: the digital world is moving really fast, and where technological aids cannot keep up. And if I read the second quote, and if you think about that, Jenny, while I'm reading it, often websites, here's the quote: often websites do not support Braille. And this means that if I navigate around a website, I often find that I do not get to the buttons I need to activate. And this is something you recognize also from?
Yeah, that's what I see sometimes when I meet persons who are screen readers, and they are depending on the screen readers to be to read everything on the screen. And so for some websites and for some applications, and even for the hearing aid applications, they are not doing it accessible for persons who are screen readers. That's I can only agree and confirm what the quote.
And what do you think about the responsibility from professionals then in this, to know who is it the developers who should be better in doing things in the right way?
Yes,
I've heard you say before it's not rocket science.
No, because they probably just don't know that they don't know. So we need to inform them that they need to do this, the screen readers accessible, by activating the buttons correctly, naming the buttons correctly, and it's not rocket science. Of course, it's very easy. It's small, very small things that could do a big difference, I believe. And they're talking about responsibility. I think it's not only the developers, but it's also the professionals who might lack some competence, and especially when it comes to teaching Braille, I guess.
That is a challenge. We know that from Sweden, and I guess that would be the same in different countries. So here may be some of the barriers, if we think about accessibility requirements and what is stated in the law and in the regulation, that is not maybe the law and the regulations is there, but it's how we use them and how we implement them into the ordinary work that we do. Yes. That could be a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree. We do have the laws and the regulations. We just got to know how to do it.
Yeah. And that leads us to the recommendations to policymakers and developers. So we've talked about and we've heard some things from the participants as well on that the technology they use is a big positive thing in their everyday life. They use it for a lot of things, use the mobile phone, they use the computers, they use other kinds of braille script readers, different kinds of technology. And it comes with challenges. It isn't, websites aren't accessible, it's difficult to navigate and so on, but we also shared, also asked them what they would recommend to policymakers and developers. And maybe you could add to this. People want to be involved in the development of new technology and want to be asked of their experiences.
Yeah, because I also think it's like someone also said in the interview that it's better to do the technology right from the beginning and not having to do all these special adjustments. And I do think that persons who use the technology could do so much good advice to the technology developers, so it can be a universal design that works. Yeah.
And the second bullet here is share knowledge. And knowledge is something that we struggle with all the time, I guess. We need more knowledge about different things. Here, the knowledge needs to be shared between users, the designers and the developers of technology, and also from the professional perspective, or to the professionals. And that leads me to the next bullet here. You sometimes say that we need to be proactive. And I think we can see that from the interviews also, when you want to be involved already in the development. But here, could you say something about that, to be proactive?
Yeah, well, since we do know that deafblindness the consequences can vary depending on what you're doing, in what situation you are, if you're at home or other place. Maybe you need to use different devices for different situations, and it could also help you using different devices if you have the possibility to use both your or all your senses in some way. It could help you if maybe the vision is going down. You have a strategy for using the hearing or the tactile sense. So I think it's not only good for today, when you are maybe saving up energy using the technology that you can use. Maybe you use a magnifier during the day, but you listen to something when you come home, and it's good for today. You save some energy, hopefully, but it's also good for the future, maybe.
Yeah, and I think we said that, but we see that also in the responses from the persons here that have shared that they use different things in different situations. But this proactivity, it's not only the individuals themselves, it's also from the professionals maybe to present different kinds of devices. Or...
Yeah, since you said also the technology is going faster and faster, and it's hard to keep up, and it's hard for the professionals to keep up also, and that's why we need to share knowledge like we kind of do today. But yes, I do think it's a responsibility for the professionals to give alternatives. Yeah, and to not having to pick something right away. You need to try out together what's going to work.
So be giving the possibility to know what there is and to try out and maybe test for a while and then see what you like it, and use all possibilities that there is, both when it comes to vision, hearing, and the tactile sense. So you can choose depending on the situation. So should we try to summarize this in a way?
Okay. Good luck.
Good luck, yeah. We have a quote here, and I think that it's illustrating quite good, maybe, or I do think that it does. And it says, if I didn't have all those things around me, then I don't know how I would be. I could not attend my surroundings if I didn't have my hearing aids. And I guess when we started off, it was the computer who gave access to the world. And here also, if there wasn't all these different things, maybe, and here it's the hearing aids, then you are not able to participate in society on equal terms as others. And we've already talked about this, that there needs to be a flexibility from those who provide devices. And the flexibility comes from that when you have, for instance, Usher syndrome, you might want to and need to shift between different devices when it's possible, to use remaining vision or hearing or the tactile sense to get information. So that is crucial in a way, because it is, or it can be, when you cannot choose or when you don't have access to different devices, it is energy draining. As you said, you need to save energy in some way. There was also someone who gave responses here that it was positive if you could have a backup device, so that you don't have to wait 6 more months or something like that if, for instance, a Braille script reader is broken. So that would be the case today often, that you need to wait.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it depends on what device. Again, maybe the Braille is since we lack competence for this. But I mean, if you would lose your iPhone, you wouldn't wait 6 months to go online again, right? No. So we need faster support for this. Yeah.
But do you also think, from the industry or from the developers, are they very focused on either vision or hearing?
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The hearing aids industry, or the hearing industry, is focusing on the hearing sense, and also the vision industry focusing on the vision loss, of course. So they don't have any contact, and that's why it becomes complicated sometimes, and they lack competence for the other sense, and what the consequences are when you actually have the dual sensory loss. I think we need to inform them, because they won't understand that they don't understand if we don't inform and do this. And also we do have the laws, Moa, and we might have some accessible devices, but just because they are accessible in the meaning of the law, it doesn't mean they are user-friendly.
Okay.
So that's why we need to involve
people in the development.
Yes,
I guess. Because user-friendly would, of course, be very making things easier also. So it's not just that it's accessible according to the law. Okay, do you want to add something to this, or have we?
I think
you're not.
Yeah,
you're fine. Yeah,
I feel all right.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me, Moa.
Okay, with those concluding remarks, we will finish this part, and there will be time for a Q&A afterwards. Thank you.
From the Nordic Welfare Center and the Unit on Deafblind Issues, we would like to give thanks to the Nordic Network on Usher syndrome, and especially to Moa and Jenny for guiding us through this labyrinth that technology can be. You might have some colleagues that weren't able to join us today, and please share that this version is now also available on our YouTube channel. The link is provided in the chat. From Stockholm and us here in the studio, Victor Boetius, Kristina Lindström, and myself, we bid you farewell and wish you all a pleasant day. Bye!